Right. So we're going to be reading the story now. Don't forget, you're going to continue taking down notes from the story. First of all, what do you think the story is going to be about? What do you think the story we're going to read is going to be about? Looking at the pictures. What do you think the story is going to be about? Looking at the pictures, looking at the book cover, you can see the big title, Little Red Riding Hood. You can see a little girl carrying a basket. Can you see a wolf behind the trees? What is she carrying in the basket? Why is she wearing a red hood? What creature is behind the tree? Why are there trees in the area, in the location? Could it be a mountain? Could the setting be in a forest? So let's find out more about the story. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Little Red Riding Hood. She lived with her parents in a house by a deep, dark forest. On the other side of the forest, in a little cottage, lived her grandma. Little Red Riding Hood could get there by walking along the forest path. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother gave her a small task. She needed to bring some food to her grandma. She bravely walked along, knowing that in the forest lived a big bad wolf. Little Red Riding Hood had not been walking for very long when out of the trees came the big bad wolf. Alliteration there. Where are you going? Hissed the big bad wolf. I am taking this food to my grandma's cottage, replied the little girl, and you can't stop me. Quickly, the wolf hatched a plan. This girl is very small. Her grandma would make a much bigger meal, he thought. He left Little Red Riding Hood picking flowers in the forest. Why do you think she's picking flowers? Who is she picking flowers for? How many characters have you been able to jot down? And where is the story set? Where did the story take place? And what is happening? So let's go back to our mind map. Who are the characters in the story? Where is the setting place? You should have filled those ones by now. And also, we also have what happened and who helped. He left Little Red Riding Hood picking flowers in the forest. That told him, thought Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf ran quickly along the forest path. He knew Little Red Riding Hood would not be long. The wolf knocked on the cottage door. Can you see his face and him licking his lips? Why do you think he's licking his lips? What's going through his mind? Can you track the thoughts of the big bad wolf at this very moment? Oh, Grandma, he squeaked. It's me, Little Red Riding Hood. That is not my granddaughter, thought Grandma. It must be the wolf. And she quickly hid under the bed. The wolf got fed up of waiting by the door, so he let himself in. It's dusty. Mustn't sneeze. That's what's going through her mind. Under the bed is very dusty, but she mustn't sneeze. Grandma must have popped out, he thought. The wolf decided to wait for Little Red Riding Hood. If I dress up as Grandma, She will never guess it's me, thought the wolf. I'm ready for a tasty snack. Soon, Little Red Riding Hood was knocking on Grandma's door. Come in, said the wolf in a husky voice. Nervously, Little Red Riding Hood opened the door. That didn't sound like Grandma, she thought. Those teeth remind me of someone. Little Red Riding Hood looked at the wolf. You're not my grandma, she shouted. Well, I'm going to eat you anyway, said the wolf, jumping out of the bed. But as he jumped out, Grandma's nightcap flopped right over his eyes. I can't see anything. Just then, while the wolf was confused, Grandma put Little Red Riding Hood under the bed. Hearing all the commotion, a passing woodcutter ran into the cottage and chased away the wolf. He looked around for Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood. We're under here, said Grandma. Little Red Riding Hood and Grandma were so happy they invited the woodcutter to stay for tea, and the wolf never came back to bother them again. I'm staying right here. Good decision. The end. Story retold by Bev Evans. Back to our learning objectives again. Be able to identify features of a traditional tale. So where did the story take place? You know, it took place in the forest, in the cottage, in Little Red Riding Hood's home. Who are the characters? We have Little Red Riding Hood, we have Grandma, we have Big Bad Wolf, we have the woodcutter, we have Little Red Riding Hood's parents. What goes wrong? First, the wolf tried to stop her from going to the wood, to Grandma's cottage, by stopping her. Next, he pretended to be Grandma, and he also tried to eat both Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood. So in the beginning of the story, what happened? We were told that Little Red Riding Hood was instructed by her mom to visit Grandma with some food baskets, some apples. Right. So now you should have filled your mind map and the table grid. Who are the people in the character? Where did each scene take place? What goes wrong and who helps? We know the woodcutter helped. All right, so have we been able to get the features of some traditional tales by reading Little Red Riding Hood? Yes, of course. Right. I can sequence the main events of Little Red Riding Hood. So remember, what things did you investigate in yesterday's lesson? We investigated the features, the characters, settings, what went wrong, who helped. You listen to the story and think about who are the characters, where did it take place, what goes wrong, and who helps. Now, our learning objectives for this lesson is to be able to sequence the main events of Little Red Riding Hood. So that's the activity. You order the pictures and write a sentence for each picture. This has been attached in the Google Classroom document in your class. So all you need to do is go to the Google Classroom and complete this task by you sequencing the main events of Little Red Riding Hood. The first picture connotes the wolf trying to eat up, trying to scare Little Red Riding Hood. The second picture, the woodcutter trying to scare the big bad wolf. Big bad wolf pays grandma a visit. Little Red Riding Hood picking flowers. Picking flowers. So this is 1. This is picture 2. 3. Picture 4, Little Red Riding Hood picking flowers. Picture 5, Little Red Riding Hood walking down the path to visit grandma. The big bad wolf stops her on the way. Little Red Riding Hood and grandma having tea. The big bad wolf pretending to be grandma. So these are all the pictures, and you need to sequence the pictures correctly and write a sentence for each picture. So once you have done that, you need to submit your work in the Google Classroom for feedback. I can recognize and record words. So you're going to read the story again and find out words that end with letter Y and find out words that end in IGH. So we have some examples. I'm going to give you an example. Boy. So boy ends with letter Y. And you're going to give me more examples of words that end with, you also have fly there, fly. So you give me 5 more examples of words that end with letter Y. Then IGH, you have night, nights, nights, nights. So you're going to look for more words that have the IGH, fight, night, might, sight, and meant. So you're going to be investigating. Go back and read the stories and see if you can find words that end with Y and IGH. I can identify the I sound. One starlit night, at midnight, one bright starlit night, I crept out of the house. I had my flashlight and a map. I tiptoed like a mouse. I was going to the beach where I knew were some old caves. The moonlight shone brightly upon the foaming, rolling waves. I stepped inside the damp, dark caves. My tummy felt uptight. The smell was bad, and then I heard high squeals and yelled outright. I held my flashlight tightly, then ran with all my might. Can you guess just what I saw that gave me such a fright? I can recognize and record the I sound, Y, night, sigh, hi, my, try, and flight. So I want you to read and spell these words. When you've read them out, you try to spell them on your own. You look, you cover, spell, and check. You look at the words, cover them up, you spell them, and then you check if you're correct. So this is, pronounce it to mom and dad. Pronounce these words. Y, flight, night, sty, try, my, hi. So I'm going to introduce to you the look, cover, spell, and check. That's how you learn your spelling words. Look, cover, spell, and check. You're going to look at the words, you spell them, and then you check whether you're correct or not. I can use capital letters and full stops. I can use capital letters and full stops. So from this story, capital letters and full stops have been omitted. So you listen what's missing and you're going to help to improve this writing. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived with her mother, who lived on the edge of a big dark forest. The little girl's grandmother made her a bright red cloak with a hood. She was so pleased with it, she wore it whenever she went out. So everyone called her the Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother called Little Red Riding Hood into the kitchen. Your grandmother is ill, she said. I've put some food in a basket and you can take it to her. Go along the path to a cottage, but remember, don't talk to any strangers you meet on the way. So I want you to work with mom and dad and try to improve this writing by putting in the missing punctuation, capital letters, contraction, and full stops. Apostrophe is missing in some words. So you are capital letter and full stop detectives. You're going to write the sentences again, adding the missing capital letters and full stops. That's what you're going to do. When you have finished, make sure to submit your work in the Google Classroom folder for feedback. Now, what will make you successful with this task? Your success criteria is, I can use a capital letter at the beginning of a sentence. I can use capital letter for names. I can use a full stop at the end of a sentence. So can you identify, can you add the capital letters and full stops? So for this one, let's do it together. It's our plenary. Little, this is the beginning, so you start it with a capital letter. Little Red Riding Hood, that's the name. So capital letter. Little Red Riding Hood, capital letter. That's her name. Waved goodbye to her mother and went into the forest with the basket. What should be there? You're correct, a full stop. It was such a lovely. So after the full stop, you start again with your capital letter. It was such a lovely sunny day. You can put a comma there. It was such a lovely, comma, sunny day. And she sang a little song as she skipped along the path, full stop. Start again with capital letter. After the full stop, she did not see a big gray wolf with gleaming eyes watching her from behind a tall leafy tree, full stop. Suddenly, so it starts with a capital letter, comma there. The wolf jumped out in front of her, comma, or a full stop. So let's make it a full stop. Put a full stop there. So capital letter, little, capital letter, little, it's capital letter there, capital R, capital H, was frightened, comma, but the wolf smiled at her, full stop. So can you add the capital letters and full stops? Now, from this work, you can see a lot of words ending with Y and a lot of words ending with Y. So you can actually fill your table from this story. So I have used capital letters. I can use capital letters and full stops. I can use adjectives. I can use my senses. Our learning objectives is to be able to describe, to use descriptive language to describe or walk through the forest. Close your eyes and listen to the sounds of the rainforest. What pictures do they create in your mind? So when you walk through the forest, when you walk through a rainforest, when you walk through the path, close your eyes and try to meditate. What do you think you will see? First of all, I want you to ink down your thoughts, and as I give you feedback, you can compare with what you have written. So what can you see? What can you hear? What can you smell? What can you touch? Of course, you can't taste anything in particular except dampness in the forest. So what can you see when you enter a rainforest? Imagine you're inside a rainforest. So you will see trees, you will see dry twigs, you could see a swampy area, you could see river, you could see water flowing or streams. What can you hear when you enter the rainforest? Hear the birds chirping, some animals squeaking, the wolves howling, crickets singing. What can you smell inside a rainforest? You probably smell dampness, you smell rotten leaves, you smell dead animals. What can you touch? You'll be able to touch the bark of trees, able to touch rivers flowing or stream flowing, you'll be able to touch leaves, and so many other things, so you can jot down your idea. So your task is to be able to describe the forest. Use the sounds you have heard and the images of the forest to brainstorm different senses you would feel as you walked through the forest to Grandma's house. So imagine your Little Red Riding Hood and you're walking through the forest. What are the things that you can feel, touch, see, and smell? Remember when she was picking flowers, so probably be able to touch flowers, be able to smell the scent from the flowers, be able to smell so many things, to be able to see so many things. I want you to write them down. The list cannot be exhaustive. You can bring up as many as 20, 30 things that you can see, feel, touch, or hear in the forest. Now, task 2, you use the words and phrases you have written to write descriptive sentences about your walk through the forest. So remember to use the success criteria to help you. Evaluate your sentences. Do the sentences build a picture of the scene? Which sentences are most successful and why? How could you improve your sentences? So we're going to be doing this in our next lesson. Learning reflection. What have you learned in this session? What helped your learning? So I want you to write down what you've learned in this lesson. We've learned a lot. I'm not going to recap. Be recapping in our next lesson. So I want you to do a reflection on your own. You write down what you have learned in this session and what helped your learning. What are the things, what are the skills, what are the things that help you to understand the story? So in the Google Classroom, you're going to have this workbook that you must then complete. You're going to have this workbook that you must then complete. My Little Red Riding Hood workbook. Find the cottage. Follow the stones to get back home. Try not to get lost at the other places. Things beginning with R. So you write all the things beginning with R in the story. Things beginning with W. So order the pictures to tell the story. You sequence. You can cut and paste, or you can draw on your own and sequence the story. Now I want you to draw your favorite part of the story. So I liked it when, tell us, for me, the favorite part of the story was when, I have two favorite parts. The first was when Little Red Riding Hood snubbed the big bad wolf. Secondly, another favorite part I love is when the woodcutter helped chase the big bad wolf into the forest. So thank you so very much for listening. I hope that you've enjoyed the lesson and you will join us yet again in our next lesson. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to complete all your tasks in the Google Classroom. Sign in with your codes and make sure to complete the tasks and submit. Thank you for listening.